And it's time to get to the business news now with Nona. Nona Peltier is joining me in the studio. Nona, Infrastructure Commissioner, this is Alan Bollard, has been meeting with local government, business and people involved in infrastructure. So what's he got to say for himself?
Yeah, so it's his first public meeting. He has been meeting informally with people, but this was a speech to a group in Auckland where most of the activity is going to be focused. So the commissioner says that he's going to look at projects primarily in the upper North Island, and that's as far as, I guess, Hamilton area. And with other projects in other parts of the country, it's going to be quite a tricky balancing exercise because a lot of the spending has to be in Auckland where the supply chain has been choked. And it was quite interesting talking to him. He had a lot of interesting things to say about how the various options they're looking at for investment opportunities. So international investment absolutely is going to be a feature of this. Public partnerships with the private sector, another feature of the initiatives that he's looking at. No firm ideas yet. Right now, it's just consultation. He'll be reporting to the government shortly. But then in the longer term, he's going to have a 30-year plan. This is what he had to say.
Well, we've got a bunch of different things. We're looking at delivering advice in May, in a couple of months, on Upper North Island port issues. Next month, we will come out with our update of pipelines available for market investment, upcoming infrastructure projects. Next year, we will report to government on a 30-year plan for long-term infrastructure, but we will be consulting right through this year and next year on what the industry and what people around the community think about that.
So what's next in terms of public consultation? Who else are you going to be talking to?
We've currently been talking right around the industry to understand, one, what they're doing, two, what they see as their problems and challenges, and three, what their expectations are for the Infrastructure Commission. We've got to decide what we can really achieve.
Yes. Yeah. So that's Dr. Alan Bollard there. Yeah, what can they really achieve? He has got a big job ahead of him because they're going to be looking at national infrastructure projects. But local governments are going to need a lot of help, and they're not really part of this initial spending. So focuses on national projects and local governments. What can we do to help them is the big question he's going to have to answer. And that's going to be how to help them leverage their finance. So local governments have a limited amount of funding. What options are they going to need to improve that the opportunities that they have, the spending they need to do to look after their communities? That's a much bigger question. And where's that money going to come from? And it's really about money, of course, not just money, but what projects should get priority and which ones really are probably just, pie in the sky, they're not going to happen.
Interestingly, talking there in your interview, he was saying it's a 30-year plan, which means, obviously, there has to be buy-in from future governments and politicians. I mean, that is a difficult thing to manage.
Well, that's one of the things that's interesting about his mandate. So he's independent. He's looking at making sure that what his goals are in terms of the commissioner who's independent, he'll be looking at evidence-based research that supports one project over another, let's say. And then he's going to put that plan to government, but that his term extends beyond the electoral cycle. So hopefully it won't be politicized. It will take it out of the political arena, which has been the problem that investors say. It has stopped a lot of things from happening. I mean, public-private partnerships, that's a really thorny issue for any government because people say, well, why is, this company investing in our footpath or whatever it is? And there's a lot of opportunities. One of the things that Sir John Key said at a recent event held by the Capital Markets to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the NZX was that there really were very few government entities left to invest in. It had to be in new initiatives, like, for example, the Sky Path that's going across the harbour, or any number of things. It could be also the port that they're looking to build in Northland. So there's a lot of options there. But one thing that isn't on the table, for example, TVNZ, no one's going to be buying into that, right? Just saying.
Just saying. Hey, what else has been going on the markets today, Nona?
Okay, so we've got a few other things. We have the PSI that came out today. That's the that's the Performance of Services Index. That's a really interesting reading. It goes with the manufacturing. So on Friday we had manufacturing, and it's in contraction for the second month. And today we had the PSI, which is the Services Index, and it's booming ahead. It really had a happy new year. I mean, it's up 5 points to 57.1, and that's the strongest reading we've had in nearly 2 years. And it was led by things like new orders, which is great, rising above the 60-point mark, which is a very strong reading and not one we've seen for about a year. As well, deliveries were strong, 2.5-year high there.
What months are we talking about?
January.
Though? Okay.
So very positive. Now, to what extent did the coronavirus play into this? Look at services. So services are not necessarily governed by manufacturing issues. So, if you're a manufacturer, you're selling your goods to Australia, it's been a bit shaky there with a lot of problems in Australia. Consumer sentiment is down there, and they've had a lot of problems with the fires and so on. China would be another issue there. For services, it's different because it's population generated. It's you going to the restaurant or, getting your hair done, that sort of thing.
And so the dollar today and market close?
Oh, yes. Well, why not? Let's get to that. Yeah, so our own market, it rose almost 1/3%, 39 points up to 11,874. And that's really on the tail of some Asian sentiment. We've seen some strong improvement there. People are starting to believe that China actually has the coronavirus under control. And the New Zealand dollar is buying 64.3 US cents, 95.6 Australian, and 49.3 British pence, which is where we were this morning.
Thanks, Nona. Nona Pelletier with our business wrap.